At AIA Australia, helping your clients in their time of need is our number one priority. In 2016, we paid over $1.15 billion in claims to both retail and group members. That's over $4.5 million every working day. To offer your clients cover you can trust, chat to your AIA CDM today.
All right, I'm gonna lead with this. Bitcoin. It needs to be said. It's the year. It's the year of Bitcoin. It's the year of cryptos.
Man, I am so over hearing about Bitcoin.
I'm with you, Ben.
Bitcoin.
Still my head in.
Oh man,
my Facebook streams just spam, Bitcoin spam.
It's terrifying. It's definitely terrifying. But so there's $500 billion in cryptocurrency at this point.
I heard this story on the radio the other day, and they were talking on Triple J about people living in their siblings' shadows. And one guy was 25, and he was talking about how his 16-year-old brother made $1 million buying Bitcoin, and then just sold it and bought a house. It's so nonsense. I'm also in this Facebook group called Men's Financial Advice, and it's basically just about like buying Bitcoin and how to get a personal loan to put a bigger exhaust on your car. That's it. The whole feed.
Well, that's what Bitcoin's for, yeah.
Yeah, pretty much. Buy Bitcoin, bigger exhaust.
This is what financial advice is for, surely.
Yeah, surely. The tulips of 2017. We actually have had a lot of activity on the group as well on Bitcoin.
Yeah.
I don't know if you've seen.
Well, everyone's getting asked by their clients.
Well, yeah, and whether or not you can buy Bitcoin in your SMSFs. So I think Liam Short spoke to the ATO, and it's kind of read your deeds. They're not in a position to tell people what their asset allocation is, so go for it.
Yeah. And that's definitely the thing. It's absolutely no longer an esoteric asset class. If there's $500 billion in it, then at some point an advisor has to go, I'm willing to have the conversation.
Well, the horse racing industry is also pretty big too. It's probably bigger than that. Just saying.
I'm pretty sure you can own a horse in an SMSF, can't you?
That was a mare of a joke, mate.
At least the horse is an actual real thing.
What concerns me though is, like in my social group, a lot of my friends have started coming to me now, asking cryptocurrency. They weren't interested in anything else to do with money. They weren't interested in tax or savings or anything about best practice on what to do with your personal money. Cryptocurrencies.
It's a shitload of FOMO going on. That's it.
Yeah.
Well, think about it this way. As a retail investor, especially if you don't know a lot, and especially if you're young, $500 is the minimum that you can invest in, say, on ComSec, for example. And then what are you hoping out of that? 7% return over a year.
Boring,
right? Now, I've stuck $500 in random cryptos, right? Forgotten about them for months, and come back and they're worth $2,500, and you're just thinking, oh, well, this is why, right?
I'm good.
Yeah, this is exactly why people love cryptos. I've got zero qualms in saying it. From the moment it was worth 1 cent, it was in a bubble. There's absolutely no value here. There's nothing intrinsic. There's no asset. There's no income. It might replace the economy of third world countries. That's probably the only value you could possibly give to it.
Or if you want to buy narcotics online.
Right.
Or a hitman.
Yeah, hitman.
Oh, that's right. Yes, the Silk
Forgetting
Road.
about hitman.
Yeah.
The dark web is a strange place, people.
The Tor network, right?
Yeah.
But it's I think it's one of those things that we're seeing so many people, like our clients and the public in general, that are just seeing the stories and seeing it go up and up, and now they're wanting to get in at probably the worst time when it's just continued to increase. So, and
why do you reckon though? Is it literally it's different this time? It's tulip mania.
It's just that people want to invest sexy. It's like that's in my view, investing should be boring. If it's boring, that's a good result. But people want something that's interesting. They don't, and especially what young people don't realize. And I have this conversation day in and day out with my clients, that once you figure out how the outcomes that you want to get in the future, the question you should be asking yourself is, how do you get there with the least amount of risk, or give yourself the highest chance of actually getting there, rather than getting there in the quickest amount of time possible or the sexiest way possible. because that
Well,
way
they change
you're
their advisor
increasing
if
your
that was
risk
the
of
objective.
losing everything.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Well, I had
think
the
massive
I had the
problem.
conversation with a client the other day that called up, and that was my first client that called up inquiring, and it was interesting. I said, "There's no way this would ever make it into my model portfolio of investments. You can do what you want. This is not advice at all."
Unless you're an anarchist. The anarchist models.
Yeah. Well, and the clients that really like drugs as well. So
Yeah.
But okay, so we can all agree there's fundamentally nothing about cryptocurrencies that are appealing, yet it's gone. So I bought a couple of grand's worth back in August, but it's now worth 15,000, right? So there's wrong.
Sell.
Yeah, well, I definitely am. But you can be right and you can be wrong, and however, people are still making a shit ton of money. So, what do you rate? So, there's a reason why you'd never put it in the portfolio because, like, do you have gold in your portfolio, for example?
Ooh, good point, Clay.
Well, because that's got no assets, it's got no income. It's a metal that's dug up from the ground.
It's a tangible asset though. It's a lump of gold.
Yeah, but what do you do with gold when everything goes to custom, mate?
But that's like
Put it
saying a
under your bed.
website isn't tangible, right? Like, computer code. Sure, you might not be able to touch it, but
Yeah, you definitely can't touch it. Isn't that the definition of tangible?
yeah. Well, but it still exists, right? So you can
Very good
see,
point, Paddy.
you can see a,
Yeah.
you can
What they
see
say
a
about you.
website, right?
Absolutely.
But so would you invest in Amazon, for example, right? You know, that was a massive website.
But they deliver tangible.
Or
assets.
now they
Yeah,
do.
and they own things.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway.
You wanna
Look,
play this game?
I definitely invest in financial advice, and that's not tangible. But
Right.
I think cryptocurrency, waste of time.
Yeah.
Can we
yeah.
never talk about it again?
Yeah, you've had enough.
Definitely not in the
New
group.
topic.
It just needed to be covered at least once. It would be
Yeah.
remiss of us.
I've always kind of wondered whether or not it was a little bit of timing. That's kind of why it's done so well. It hasn't been the most stable year politically. The rise of the Chinese middle class is an absolute game changer for younger generations. And because they've got caps on how much money they can take out of the Chinese economy,
Capital controls are a big part of.
well,
This,
this is a conduit which looks very very interesting if you're middle class and you're trying to get your money into.
Well, I read something. Venezuela's developing their own cryptocurrency to
Of course they will.
circumvent.
I'm speculating. I don't actually know that they're the ones using this stuff, but it makes sense to me that this serves as an appropriate conduit. So I just wonder if we're all piggybacking on, or the people that are investing in it are piggybacking in that. But once that starts to get regulated, or the government starts looking at this stuff, then you lose your capital value, and suddenly the world goes back to making sense.
Well, it's just the supply and demand thing. Like if the
Yeah,
demand's like if we're saturated now, if you're thinking about who's asking about it, people that would.
Everyone's asking, but who's actually doing? That's the other thing,
So you reckon
right?
there's still plenty to
Well, I
run.
know that the Intrello guys, they've just put a new sort of clause into their trust deed so that all of their SMSF clients can use cryptos if they want to switch their deed.
Yeah.
Chris Kiddo on the Facebook group also.
Yeah.
Was
That's
was that the one?
That's
Yeah,
Intrello,
yeah.
Intrello.
Intro.
Anyway,
It'd be really good for
guys.
purchasing art for your SMSF on the black market.
Anyway.
All right, so moving swiftly along. So 2017, big year.
Big year.
Biggest year.
Big year for I think the advice community. Lots of changes. Big year for the XY advisor community.
Yeah.
Plenty of action. I
Yeah.
think Ray J. What was our rundown for this year?
Well, rather nicely, we got out of Sydney.
Yeah.
This year.
Yeah.
I'll talk about Mastermind in a moment, but I think one of the things that we certainly recognise, I think just by virtue of the fact that we are in Sydney, and our networks are in Sydney, that we tend to be a bit Sydney heavy. And I think 2017 was a year that we certainly wanted to be mindful of that, and certainly next year, You know, I don't know that we want to see Sydney as the home for XY Advisor anymore. I think we want it to see truly national.
The Brisbane event was my funnest event I've been to.
And the best, by far the best named event that we've had, XY does Bris Vegas. Clearly we broke the marketing budget.
I'll take that one.
This is what happens when Paddy tries to get creative.
Hey, I was just talking my market up there, that's all.
That was a good event though. It was a great crowd up in
awesome crowd. I can't wait to do more events in Brisbane.
And it was a cool space, wasn't it, as well?
No, it wasn't a cool space.
I wasn't happy with the auditory.
There was no air conditioning. Melbourne.
So it was funky. It was just warm.
Yeah, Melbourne was a much better space. Actually.
But people not as warm, I guess.
Well,
they're used to it.
Your opinion.
They're used to it down there.
Yeah. But Brisbane, geez, everyone stayed out. They polished off all the booze, and then we went searching for more booze. So it's a very XY event.
And then you can't forget that Facebook Live from Adrian at the bar. This is why Adrian's now been banned from doing Facebook Live in the group.
Hey, just being authentic, guys.
Just
too authentic. There's a line. There's a line.
Waking up to see Adrian just going, XY.
No, that was a different one.
I very rarely get that angry, but I think I'm pretty sure I tried to boot you from the page, the group. I was like, you're gone.
Did you get another application from Adrian the Monday after the event?
Can you let me back in, please?
Aspiring advisor. Aspiring human.
Oh, jeez.
Yeah, so that was a highlight of the year, that one.
Melbourne, Perth next year. Look out,
Yeah,
West
Perth,
Coast,
really
baby.
pumped.
We're coming.
Perth is one of the only places I've had people reach out to me and say, hey, when you guys get to Perth, we are ready to go.
We had guys
when we
from
did
Perth at the Modern Advisor
full day event.
We
had a couple of guys fly over. It was crazy.
I think that Perth, I mean, because Perth's so far away, they love anything that comes out to see them. I'm really looking forward to going out.
I'm Big Kev. I'm excited.
Yeah.
I think it's going to be fantastic. I genuinely believe there's a community there that we just need to.
Some ripping advisors over there as well. So
awesome businesses, really interesting client base. I imagine as well. We all know what the big economy is in the West, but
the wealth designers, they're over there, right?
I think they are.
Yeah, I remember that. Yeah,
some really good business coaches over there. Might get them involved.
Who are you referring to?
Look out.
Yeah.
Salvia.
And Sue.
And Sue
as well.
Solid game in the West. Solid business coaching game.
Absolutely. Beautiful part of the world as well. Sue was one of the more popular podcasts for the year as well. So we know people tune in when she's involved. So
yeah. So what about the podcast? Who would have thought that what started as an afterthought from just taking the audio out of our XY Live, the video sessions, would be so popular, but like the community just all over it.
Yeah, the funny thing is, if you look back at Blab, do you remember Blab?
Yeah.
So
good.
That's going
XY Live.
Yeah, that's before we even had the Transformers intro. If we go back to Blab, it wasn't even recorded. So for the first 6 months,
it was really live.
It was truly just live, and there was no there was no recording.
And I think we got lots of randoms because when Clay and I were first checking it out, it was pretty entertaining. We had people in Ireland, like this Irish guy, spent about an hour with us just explaining what Blab is. And
okay.
And it doesn't even exist anymore, right?
No, ironically, two weeks after we swapped over, it just shut down. It was it was quite.
And then
timing.
and then we're just doing videos, I think, for at least a while.
Yeah, just on YouTube.
Yep. Yeah. Now onto the podcast. Do we have total downloads, right?
For the year, it's certainly over 3,000.
Wow.
Yeah, so
I'd be heaps more than that. No, it's about 7,000 or 8,000 just on. Is my mic working properly? By the way, it sounds a little bit echoey, at least in my cans. So
just around the echo chamber upstairs.
Yeah, cheers, mate. So our biggest platform is still Facebook. The Facebook group. We get about 500 per week watching the video there. We get about 100 per week on the YouTube.
The YouTube,
and on the podcast, we get about 300 to 400. So it's just under 1,000 on average of downloads or views per week, which is, considering we kicked it off to learn because we're the enthusiasts, and then mentoring at scale because we all learnt so much from the AFA mentoring thing. Look, it's crazy that it's actually turned into a thing on itself. So that's good.
I've only ever listened to 2 podcasts in my whole life, so I'm just surprised that people just listen to podcasts. It's just a thing now.
Audio on demand, man.
That's it.
Well, I was on the way here this morning, and I was listening to your podcast last week.
Yeah.
Bit of
Gary V was at an event in Brisbane just recently, and he said that if you don't have an audio strategy in your business, in 3 years you'll be out of the game, basically.
But he says a lot, doesn't he?
But he has a very good knack for predicting trends.
Look, a lot of these people have built a CV around chucking some money into Facebook. I don't know. What else is he, actually done? He talks a lot. But what else is he...
He gets out a lot of content.
Well, I think he's... I listened to his
Thank
You Economy book recently.
Yeah.
And I feel like that was written now, I don't know, 7 or 8 years ago or something. And all of the stuff that he said was well on point.
Yeah.
And probably ahead of its time for that time. But I know that, I was over in Fincon recently in the States, and over there, podcasts are enormous. All the content providers over there, everyone's doing podcasts or thinking about podcasts, and there's so many people that are just having runaway success as a result of doing that. And I think for advisors that it's a great way that if you can be in the ears of your sort of ideal clients on a regular basis, that's all relationship building, right?
So if you've not, what is Fincon for those that haven't been?
So Fincon is a 4-day conference based out of the US. It's all financial content.
It's where money and media meet.
Yeah,
that's kind of their slogan. Yeah,
exactly. But more not really traditional media, although there was a little bit of that there, but mainly just different content avenues. So blogging, podcasts.
Half the people
websites.
say financial advisors, and half the people are bloggers or podcasters,
rappers.
Well, I didn't meet any advisors over there.
Didn't you?
No, apart from the Aussie ones, there was a solid Aussie contingent.
Because there is an Aussie contingent.
Yeah, right? It was 35 Aussies or something.
You guys had T-shirts this year, didn't you?
We had T-shirts, organised by Glenn James and Peter Diamantidis. So that was cool. It was awesome hanging out with all those guys over there. But that was my only real criticism, and I thought the conference was amazing. Would go back in a heartbeat, but that a lot of it was about blogging and about these different types of content, as opposed to being about creating content for a service business. It was creating content for a content business. So it was a lot of stuff about advertising revenue and affiliate marketing, and I think it's different when you're a service business and you're trying to do content to reach your audience and to build relationships, because you're not really doing that part for the money. You run a business, and that's your profit generating enterprise, and you're running a content strategy to
so a lot of
connect more
businesses
people
are
with
stopping
your business.
where we actually need to go into a full service offering off the back of it.
And I think it is slightly different. So I would have liked to have seen that. That being said, I got so much out of the content that was there. So
you'd recommend it?
Absolutely. Yeah.
Or you can just hang out with Adele Martin, and that's like Fincon in a box.
Yeah, there was some good peeps over there, so it was great to learn the stuff, great to build relationships with those guys. Don't know about Dallas for a city though. Bit of a weird place,
really?
Dallas.
Yeah, really?
It's like this intense, just big city. Not really much of a soul.
Did you see many
good barbecue,
open carry?
Though. I did not see any open carry firearms. No,
that's a thing, right?
It is. Yeah.
So.
You can just carry. You just carry.
No guys
gun
walking
around
down the street with a shotgun.
No. Yeah, I don't know what the rule is about big guns, but no, we didn't see that. Although they have you go into the souvenir shops over there, and they've just got all these signs that say we don't call 911 in Texas, and then it's just got a picture of a gun.
So awesome.
Oh man, yeah, it's intense.
There's a few words for it. That's
It just sounds like an alien planet to me.
Dallas.
Yeah. Well, it wasn't long after we were
Texas.
there. They had that big shooting over there and stuff. So I don't know if the rules work so well.
Oh
But,
yeah, I certainly wouldn't trade what we've got here. Yeah.
No, but good
be able to
barbecue.
carry a gun.
Very good barbecue.
All right.
Texas barbecue, awesome. So
Tex-Mex?
Fincon's in Orlando next year. I think there's already a solid crew of Aussies going over there. So
Well, I think Fincon's really important because, as you said, even though it's not particularly tailored to advisors, it's something that advisors, like all small service-based companies, need to start considering because of where the world's headed. And so at the moment, everyone gives advice X, Y, Z way, but is there room to be valuable to clients and earn money, so valuable to yourself, by changing the structure? And that's kind of the conversation that's happening at Fincon, right? So you've got this is how you do a podcast, this is how you do a blog, this is how you maximize all that stuff. And imagine if someone like Adele, right, because she's really on the cusp of this. What happens if she turns around and 2 years from now doesn't have a traditional financial advice practice? Instead, she's got a Facebook group where everyone contributes a bit of money, and she gives non-specific general advice.
No SOA.
Yeah,
But is that where the industry's heading?
well,
maybe.
I mean, it's becoming
I think
so
Clayton
burdensome.
Clayton almost went down that path.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, or
It was a leading question.
well, almost. And I think in the end, I wasn't ready to create another service-based business, but that's absolute. Well, it's becoming so burdensome, right? We've got a royal commission.
You took the
coming
words
in.
out of my mouth.
Yeah,
right?
right. Like, I mean, as if advice isn't hard enough.
That's
to
guaranteed to have
provide.
great outcomes for
Yeah,
everybody
there you
involved.
go. Have your AFSL
Should
back.
be fine for
I'll
me.
just write some generic helpful information that people will pay me for.
Yeah.
Well, that's the thing, right? So all of these the big content-based businesses over in the state, or businesses, or like the people, the popular ones, the guys that were presenting at these Fincon events, they were all not financial advisors, and they weren't giving. They were just giving their thoughts, what had worked for them,
Yeah.
general information, guidance. Not saying it's not obviously it's not financial advice, and a lot of them didn't really have the financial backgrounds to be able
Totally.
to even give that advice anyway. But that didn't seem like a barrier, because some of these people are just like millions of viewers or clickers or
and making millions
subscribers
of
per month.
dollars.
Yeah, and making tons of money.
Bigger
Yeah.
market though.
Much
Sure,
bigger
but
market, for sure.
if you've got access to the internet, therefore you have the American market.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Would you? Is it like there's almost becoming an incentive to drop your AR status because then you're able to?
It's
Well,
definitely
that's kind of the trend, right? But then,
'Cause that's
you think
essentially-
on the other side of the coin, if you're making it too cumbersome to actually be a licensed financial advisor, are you just making the barrier to entry irrelevant, and then anyone's just going to start blogging their thoughts? And does that engender?
But that already exists.
But does that engender good?
But it's a funny
Yeah.
thing, right? Because like we had that event in Sydney in earlier in the year for the Beyond the SOA, and I think that advisors realise that most of the value, well, at least a big part of the value that we give to our clients is outside of the traditional financial advice. It's not about choosing a super fund or choosing a tax structure or all of that sort of stuff. It's just about coaching, accountability, making them do stuff, making them take action, all those sorts of
It was
things.
like what Catherine mentioned in the podcast you did with her the other week around the logical versus the emotional piece.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, she does Catherine does a great example of that, where she does a lot of the out of the box advice. She weaves in her professional coaching. She was talking about like that a lot of her clients, they want her to be able to sit on the couch with them, she said, and just talk and be there, almost, like as someone that they can, I suppose, just bounce their thoughts off and have there to support them, but with that background in the financial side.
Yeah,
as well.
definitely. Like even if you're getting your calf muscle massaged by a physiotherapist, it's great to know that they spend their weekends, physioing for the Australian cricket team, for example, right? So even if you don't need that level of attention or that level of expertise, to get access to it as a client is a great sort of source of security. So say if someone just wants to talk about what they want to do in 20 years from now, it's still best to have a conversation with someone who knows a shit ton about money rather than just the uncle that's sitting around the campfire, doling out buy Bitcoin.
Yeah.
That's your retirement plan.
I really wonder though, and I don't want to beat the drum on the education thing, but then are we doing ourselves a disservice running around and becoming really technical when it comes to understanding financial strategies when the true value is managing the client?
So you learn technical stuff.
Sometimes, mate. Well, no, but one of the confronting things that I had to learn about 4 years ago was, is it valuable for me to do a CFP or do a psychology degree? I went down the psychology path, and I could, one has left me much better place to help manage a client through a financial plan.
Yeah, agreed. And
is that because you struggle with math?
It's easy when the clients don't have very much.
I reckon what the outcome is coming in the next few years is just that, like, people, there's no oversupply of advisors as there is. So when you're coming from a state where there's no oversupply and there's so much need out there and people aren't getting it now, and then you're putting more impediments into people becoming advisors and the cost to deliver, putting more barriers for the number of people out there. So in terms of people coming into the industry, whether it's through the education pathways expanding, people dropping out of the industry, and also just in general the cost to deliver advice, like the bad outcome is actually for just anyone, like the Australian people in general.
I think the barrier should be high. I think it should be higher. Like the barrier to entry, it shouldn't be easy. And we saw this a lot with all of the sort of the nonsense that was going on with changes in LIF, and a lot of people resisting and saying now, you get rid of upfront comms, and I can't run a business. It's like, if you can't run a business without upfront comms, you shouldn't have a business. Like you're not supposed to be able to just walk out of a job one day and then walk straight into a financial advice business. I think you should have to plan for it. You should have to save for it. But like any other business, you don't expect to go open a convenience store or a childcare center and be able to just do it in a day. I think that there should be a barrier, but it's
good that you shifted to the childcare centre, because
anyone can open a convenience store. It's not like you do a 5-year convenience store degree.
Hey, it can be pretty technical.
Have
you
a
seen how many
master's in
flavors of chewing
convenience
gum they've got these days? But seriously, the cost to serve thing, that's a big issue. I think that you're right in that that just disadvantages the advice consumers, really, when it makes it more difficult, more technical, more expensive.
Less people out there.
There's a higher barrier to entry for us, or for the industry is a higher barrier for the consumer as well, right? Because it's more expensive to build a business and a presence.
People are more skilled these days. Like, obviously the education requirements are sort of coming in, and there's people that have been doing the job for a long time, and there is, I think that there should be some sort of measures to ensure that if they're competent that they can give advice. But I think in the future, most people these days have got degrees, and if not double degrees and master's degrees. So I don't think that's a massive entry barrier, really. But I think around actually starting a business, there should be barriers around that. Like
the challenge, however, with all this, like the breadth of what's covered in this education, is that 80% of it sort of sits on the table a lot of the time, and it only comes out when you get certain clients. Like, a lot of advisors are dealing with people where the complexity is just not there to actually put into use this education. It's great, and like it gets a bit exciting when you actually do have something that's a bit more technical and you can do a bit of a strategy. But a lot of people, it's actually not that complex. It's more the behavior piece, like exactly what you do with your business, Ben. Like, you've got all the technical knowledge, so when a client comes along and they need it. But a lot of the time, you're doing coaching with people.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it is pretty simple.
When it's when you're only using 20-30% of actually that technical knowledge most of the time, you're like...
I love it, Ben, that you could probably still know how to calculate and maximize a 5411 CSS, defined benefit pension. But I'm sure if you got one of those clients these days, you'd be like, nah.
Refer. Yeah. Steve Nielsen, mate, I got one for you.
And yet you're probably...
But you did all the education.
You're probably one of, it'd be in the top sort of echelon of advisors who could do that, and yet, nah.
Yeah, I tend not to. Well, it's not really my market, and we're seeing those.
Why isn't it your market, Ben?
Because it's older people. Only older people have got defined benefits pensions, because they're sort of phasing them out these days. But you're right that I've studied a ton. Like I've got 2 master's degrees on top of my bachelor's, and I looked at as you said, doing some, and I actually started both the CFP and the FCHFP. But then when I started my business, I just realized that there was so many other things that I needed to learn that were going to be so much more valuable to me from a business sense, but also valuable to my clients, that I've had to sort of park that until upskill around things like, coaching and engagement and content and,
And how did you go about doing that? Because, a bachelor degree of psychology isn't for everybody. So what was kind of your approach?
Well, look, man, I'd love to do that at some point. And I studied a little bit of psychology when I was back at uni, but really through things like avenues like XY Advisor, learning off the community and other people. I know we all share a lot between each other. Mentors, I've been Dean Holmes been helping me out for ages, and he's a great source for business related things, and that was a really steep learning curve for me. With I'd worked with some business clients, but the actual operational side of a business, a lot of stuff, a lot of just complexity around doing that. So that was a learning curve. Bookkeeping, business management, and then really it's been a journey around content and really working on writing and engaging how to actually get the message out.
And you're in a mastermind with Vince Scully, right?
Yeah, man, our mastermind's epic. Yeah, so we got Vince, Nick from he's at Macquarie now, from previously from Pro Advisor, and Mark Boyd, and yeah, it's been great catching up with those guys. Great little group. Been learning heaps. I think everyone's at different stages and learning off each other, but Nick's just sort of starting out with Macquarie and building out his service offering. Mark's in the process of sort of being a succession plan for the business that he's in, and Vince's business obviously pretty epic, so I've been sort of hitting him up as much as I can, learning. But Vince has been helping me with working on getting a CRM in the business at the moment.
Yeah.
And sort of building out a Salesforce instance. Recently been talking to the guys from Practify. I think we'll probably go down that way. But it's just been great to have that resource. And I think, this is how XY all started, that and I think the strength of the advice community in general, that whenever I had a problem ever, I would just go and find 3 people that did that thing well, and then just speak to them all, figure out what worked for me, and then make it happen.
Yeah,
so
it's definitely the backbone of XY.
Absolutely. It's not like we created an environment for people to share. People were always sharing. It's
amplified
just,
it.
We just sort of stuck a badge on it. That's all, and I think the reason why XY Advisor, the name caught on, is because it's only 2 letters away from sexy advisor. At the end of the day,
that's got to be it.
That's
Are you advocating for annual award for XY Advisor?
Yeah, the special executive. Yes, the special executive XY Advisor.
Let's not forget, the podcast got better when videos got taken away.
Basis for radio.
Ben, what other sort of themes have we seen in 2017? I know you're quite keen on, a couple of key areas.
Yeah, well, we saw obviously the Facebook group started in
January.
Yeah, and I think it's been, I think it's fair to say that we've been blown away with how many people have been keen to get in there and share what they're doing digitally.
Yeah. Compared to LinkedIn.
Oh yeah.
Well, it's almost 1,400 people.
Yeah, but I think it's like I think it's weird. Like personally, I'd never really. Maybe I'm a bit weird on the digital side. As I said, I'm not a big one for podcasts, but I've never really been in like a Facebook group and interacted heavily, or seen it, got heaps of value out of it. But yeah, I think that group, it's just been so many people just sharing what they're doing, sharing some of their IP, which has been awesome, but jumping in and helping people answer questions. And I know, like, I've interacted with a bunch of people on there. When we went up to the Queensland event, I met a couple of them for the first time, Lee Smith and a couple of other guys, and we've been interacting online. It was like you know, when they talk about that stuff on TV, and they're like, these kids these days, they're like making relationships online and stuff, and I'm just like, oh my god, this is so weird. But it was cool that I was like, oh Lee, I was like, cool man, like,
yeah,
I
I've
sort of
actually
feel
done
like
that.
I know
heaps.
you.
I
Like,
walk up to someone at any event, pretty much. I'm like, I recognize your
looking at the name badge.
yeah, in the face. Yeah, it's great.
yeah, so I think it's amazing that sort of forum is helping people to build those relationships, and then they can take them offline and do things to, you know, help themselves learn as well. But I think we've seen there's a bit of, you know, a big theme, I think, for the engagement in the group has been around digitalizing, something like that.
Adopting tech,
Going online.
Yeah, like online using
using a computer.
technology, online fact, computer. Yeah, so like doing those things, online fact finds, and just making services really easy for clients to consume. And I think that's something that,
friction.
as an industry, we've been really bad at historically.
I think it's really us. It's almost, I don't know, Clay's always talking about product market fit when he's talking about new businesses. It's almost us moving towards the client a bit more than, and us as opposed to sitting up in our ivory tower. Well, this is how we do things.
Yeah,
you guys can come meet us
this
here.
fact find, and post it back to us.
This is our time. Our time's valuable. But clients, they don't want to do that.
Yeah, it's got to be easy.
You got to go to them, make it easier.
I just quite love the idea that someone can, you know, sort of type through an idea that they might have, and, you know, traditionally you'd go back to your licensee, or you'd go to the senior people in a business, or the like, and, you know, there's plenty going on which will influence what you might get back. But now it's just like, hey guys, had this idea, this is what I've built. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, and
80 comments.
Yes, literally 300 comments a day. It gets up to, you know. Like, hence why we've had to hire moderators.
Yeah,
you know, we can't watch that. That's
it's fantastic.
But what an amazing resource I think for. I know I've used it myself a bunch of times. Like this, I've been, as I mentioned, I'm looking at CRMs at the moment. Throw that into the group. I've got a bunch of great feedback from people. I've spoken to a number of people that have got experience using them, and I think that's just so valuable as an advisor and an advice business.
It's just making it easy for people to find people that have the same problems or can help with each other's problems. Like it's just making it efficient.
Yeah, so I think that engagement piece is a big theme, and then also into automation, like into business processes, but then like automating as much as possible. And I think that's part of, as you mentioned before, the trying to reduce the cost to serve, make it easier to work with clients as well. One of
the awesome side effects that we had no thought of when we went into it is like the impact on the product and service providers. So the amount of, I've talked to so many BDMs out there, business support people that are just like, they're just getting into their role there, and the amount that they're learning by just being in the group.
Oh, right.
And learning.
Like new BDMs or whatever.
Well, existing BDMs, new BDMs or junior BDMs, just learning about advice, because they're coming in this world, they're coming from this product provider. They get they only hear what they're told there and what they see there. If they haven't been in an advice business before, the insights that you can get by being in the XY advisor group and the problems and like and
the service product and service providers have been pretty good on the group. In the early days, we set those.
Well, it's because you've hung a few of them, haven't you?
Wait a second, I haven't. But in the early days, it was what do we do here? And we got pretty strict pretty quickly.
There's a bit of work. Bit of legwork in the early days.
Especially with our friends, you know, there were people like our mates, and we were like, oh, I don't think that's good.
Yeah, very difficult. But I think that now
really hard actually. Like but I think it's all been worked out in the wash. But for those first,
just to get that consistency
months, when we had to sort of be a little bit harsh on people that we like, that sucked.
Yeah. Agreed. But I think that now I know the AIA guys have been really good with this, Mel and her guys, answering some technical questions from the product side, and it's great to get that line. And I think I've used it a couple of times actually. With I had a couple of difficult cases on the insurance side, and just put it there, and then you see like the keen PDMs, and they're like, "Send me this, send me the message," and it's like they're
nice.
I think as an advisor that's helpful because on a couple of fronts, but one, you're getting access into the people, but two, it's like it's almost like you not a complaint, but like you tweet a thing.
You're
about
inspiring
a company, it's
change.
Like, it looks good for the reps if they're like, you know, keen and want to be helpful. And I know that those guys, and they were really helpful in those cases. And you know, I ended up getting this case that I didn't even think that I was going to be able to get cover for
awesome.
sorted. So I think it was great, and I've seen a lot of other examples of that sort of stuff on there as well.
Yeah,
so
it's a bit of leverage.
So I think that's great. One of the other things that I noticed a lot of discussion on is around pricing and pricing commissions and the trend towards, I think that there's more people, they seem to be moving more towards a fee-based advice or fee-only advice, much more than it's been in the past. Probably prompted by the
LAF.
Yeah, exactly. But see a lot of questions in the group around pricing, and I think that we'll probably see more as more people sort of adjust to the changes.
Well, essentially, the pricing is just it seems quite simple when you look at it, but it actually reflects the whole business model.
Yeah.
And that's why, like, when we're sharing our pricing schedules it's almost sharing your business model, because it's like, well, this is your upfront and this is your ongoing.
Yeah.
You see this many clients, this is how much money the business makes, and like the way you charge, for example, like a lot of people.
What, extortionist?
They sign.
He's a quality benchmark as opposed to a pricing benchmark.
But it is hard, right? It's hard with fee-only advice. Like I know that in my business, you know, we've been fee-only since I started the business. Previously, I had an asset-based fee, and this year I've been in the process of stripping out the asset-based fee.
Right. How have your clients gone with that?
Yeah, they've been good. For a lot of them, they're fairly close to where it would be almost the same. For some of them, it is a little bit more, but they also then see that that they will be better off in the future as well. So I haven't had any pushback at all.
As soon as you move away from the percentage, even for the asset base, then property becomes an obvious opportunity to talk about as well, because you're not conflicted. That's obviously the big
elephant, right?
Well, actually, though, it's been more the other way, and this is part of the reason why I think it was important to make that change, because with the rise in property prices recently, and the changes in lending and borrowing rules, and you know, moving to more principal and interest type payments, I'm getting more and more people that are having investment accounts as opposed to buying property. So to move away from the percentage based fee, I just wanted to make sure that none of my clients felt that I was suggesting that, because we were getting paid more. So just removing that potential conflict out of the
Clayton,
out of the process.
That's not necessarily an issue around the percentage charging. You just actually have to charge a percentage on the property price or the property valuation of a client.
Yeah, right. Is that what you do? That's pretty ballsy. Do you manage the rental property as well?
I think that's actually against the law, right? You can't
well, if there's gearing,
percentage fees on geared assets.
Yeah.
It'd have to be the net amount, which would still be pretty good in Sydney.
I hope AMP are listening to this. Adrian, it's Adrian Paddy. You'll find him at the Coogee Pavilion.
Car number 274.
It's the beachside office.
Yeah.
Well, I guess, you know, one of the opportunities then for XY is to actually create a bit more of a formal structure for some of these awesome conversations that we've started to see in the Facebook group. And I know, because everyone seems to be getting plenty of value out of this stuff, it's certainly something that's on all of our minds for next year, to then really put that into an environment, or put that into a structure where people can be really specific about, you know, particular topics, going directly to the vetted content experts on a matter, and accessing that at a very low you know, barrier to entry. So I think that's probably one of the things that I think is really exciting for the group going forward, is that opportunity.
Yep, membership's coming.
Yeah, membership site. I wonder if will we get there in January? End of January?
It's all up to Ben.
Oh right, yeah, I'm all over that. I know my way around the CMS.
That was strategic.
Clay's like, so I'm gonna have the new logo ready.
I'm
You
done.
sorted everything else out, Ben.
Yeah, no, I'm quietly.
You got to do it. It's on the podcast, mate.
It's going to be very close to the end of January, if not exactly.
We've got some amazing content.
Oh yeah.
Providers to launch with. Oh my god.
Yeah, it's going to be epic. I've been looking at the content this weekend, actually. Some of the guys that have sent through the stuff.
Could you imagine $45 a month for this.
I know.
And
yeah.
it sounds like a major plug, and it probably is. But, literally, we're trying to give the best for the smallest amount.
Yeah.
Which is, and these guys that are providing that content. I mean,
and these instructors, the people that are teaching these courses, are they run businesses where they're charging thousands, if not tens of thousands of dollars for their sort of expertise. So,
well, not to mention some of the advisors. So there's some awesome advisors that are so passionate about what they do that they want to share it with the rest of the community.
Absolutely,
and I think I'm always really stoked when an advisor's willing to do that.
And just to be very clear, this isn't going to be charged at the Facebook group level. This is over and above.
Yeah.
So those conversations that are going on at the moment in the Facebook group will continue.
Yeah.
It's
just it's an additional thing. Yeah,
absolutely.
And we're never charging for the Facebook group.
No.
That was it.
Well, it's not really ours to charge for.
Yeah. Well, I mean, there's a lot of business models that do charge off platform and then just hold it on Facebook. But we decided we weren't going to charge for Facebook group, for masterminds, for the podcast, because literally this hobby of ours is about driving the positive evolution of financial advice, and we can't do that if we're going to start charging for all the things that we've been doing for free. And then this one thing that we are charging for is super cheap anyway, so it's pretty cool.
Very exciting stuff. Yeah,
I am pumped. But 31st of January.
Boom.
Better get it sorted, Ben.
Wait, it's in the pipeline.
Yeah, so what else? We've got we spoke about the events, so we know that there's a proper national agenda.
There's a nice pipeline of
next year
events.
Oh, we've got the party coming up this Friday.
We do indeed.
This Friday. Where is
Sydney
it?
Peeps?
Yeah, it's down at Customs House Bar, which isn't Key Bar, outside Customs House.
Oh yeah. Below Cafe Sydney. On the
It's not that one.
Oh, it's not
It's
Cafe
not-
Sydney.
No.
So where's this one?
No, this one's just off Bridge Street.
Okay.
On the left.
Yeah,
there's
Cafe Sydney. That's in Customs House, right?
This isn't Customs House.
You're talking about,
Customs
like, the
House
one
is
near the
on
park?
Alfred Street. Yeah, it's near the park.
All right. Anyway,
that one.
Customs House Bar. Look it up.
Good beer
Customs
selection
House
there.
Bar.
actually.
Yeah.
So everyone just come down there, right?
Yeah, please do.
And then next
That's
year
it.
we should
It's
try
free.
and do a Christmas party in every city as well, right? That'd
I
be
don't think we agreed to that, no.
But we should definitely try and do that.
A virtual one?
If there's mastermind groups all over Australia, well,
Why not?
Yeah,
Totally.
and just
I think
send them a budget.
That's probably another big one as well. And this is specifically, well, not specifically, but especially if you're in regional areas of Australia. One of our pursuits is XY Mastermind, which are groups of 4 to 12 people getting together. Like Ben was talking about earlier, just sharing awesome things that they're doing, asking questions in person. And we like the idea of people getting together in person. So one of our pursuits for next year is actually getting really good at Mastermind and really helping people with the structure to make it as easy as possible. One of our close friends, Dylan, had a conversation with us. He's based in Wollongong, and he said, these things are awesome, but everything seems to be in Sydney, and with a young family that it takes up a lot of his day, and it's not easy for him to do that. He really needs to make a decision about whether or not he's going to miss an afternoon and night with his family. So we're thinking, there's easily a dozen Dylans in Wollongong that probably just haven't had an opportunity to meet each other. So let's just build that.
Well, even that the Shane Hayes group, which is they operate on
They're
Zoom.
all over the place.
Yeah,
and that's top of the tip of Queensland sort of thing,
Yeah.
over to Western Australia.
Yeah,
And it's one of the most engaged groups because they don't get. It's hard to get access to.
Totally.
Yeah.
So especially if you're regional, please get in contact with us. We'll desperately do everything we can to get you in a mastermind group and have awesome conversations with people that just want to shoot the breeze with you and share their IP.
Have we got something coming out on that?
Yeah, absolutely. So 30th of January, just so I can beat you. No.
Speaking of really engaged groups, how's yours going, Paddy?
Which group?
Mastermind group?
Yeah, it's killer.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Good.
High attendance every week.
Good.
It's not a horrible point.
You
I
have to be really selective in the mastermind leaders you
So
pick, right?
just for those that might not know whether or not they're still in a group or not, I am doing a bit of an audit on the current allocations, what groups are working, what groups are not. So if you're not sure, if you feel like you're in a little bit of limbo, again, please reach out to me, but I'll certainly be reaching out to especially the leaders or the heads of the groups, and just getting a bit of a sanity check on what's working and what's not.
How many Adrians are out there?
Yeah.
Hopefully not too many.
Yeah. It's a wonderful thing, you know, and I think those that are doing it, you heard Ben earlier, like he's in a cracking business, and he's getting awesome experience out of it.
So good. I think that's it's great to have all the online community and have the events, and you have a good chat with people, and it's always fun to catch up. But really, the masterminds are about really diving deeper and learning from each other. So I think it's hugely valuable.
How many have you got in your group?
We just got 4.
4, yeah, and that works.
4 works well for us. I find. I personally find it. It's a challenge to sort of always to align with everybody. I think we had to cancel one of our meetings, but outside of that, we've met every month, and we just locked it in the diary for last Friday of the month or something.
So recurring.
So it's in there. We've moved it a couple of times because there was some things
Life
sort of
happens,
happening. People going away, that sort of stuff. But I found that works really well, because it's hard to, everyone's busy. All of the guys that are in my group have got a lot of stuff on their plate. So I find that's helpful. But yeah, I think that with more people, it gets more difficult to coordinate. But that being said, I know that there's other groups that are bigger, and they just have, it's just the expectation that everyone's probably not going to be there each time, and that works for them as well. So I think you just got to find what works for you.
I'd probably say also for people who have considered mentoring and maybe have quite a lot of experience and wondering what value they'd get out of it, maybe thinking about this is a really good opportunity for you to give back to the younger advice generation and share some of your knowledge, because that's also a factor. Some of the guys that are in these groups, they're actually not necessarily getting too much personally out of them because they've got such great experience, but they're just really enjoying sharing and helping out. And if you're feeling like that out there, like, definitely get involved, because there's lots of guys that would love to leverage off your experience.
And I think that's one of the questions that we had at the start. We were saying, should we pair people with the same sort of experience, like people with a lot of experience with other people with a lot of experience, people with less with people with less? And I think where we landed, and happy to get feedback from anyone that wants to give it, but that it is good to have, how do we collectively get better? How do we make advice evolve? And it's having the people that are newer to, they're generally not new, but they're newer to the industry with less experience, partner them up with the guys with all the experience, and you can't help but get better. I know
Totally. Yeah. And if you are a younger advisor, what an awesome thing to be able to take back to your practice and say, hey, talking to the community, these are the things that other people are working on. Does that work for us? And what an awesome place to put yourself in a business if you're a little younger as well.
Well, you've got high quality people like Glenn Hare and Jess Brady, who recently started their
business name, by the way.
Oh, Fox.
Can we just give a little bit of a clap for that one?
Absolutely. But in their preparation, everything was fantastic. But 6 months ago, when they were getting closer and closer to setting up, I said, "Have you been on the XY Advisor group yet?" And they said, "Oh yeah, we went on the page." I said, "Oh, no, not the page." The page gets like one post a month and one like. Find the group, and then next time we spoke, I said, how are you finding it? And they said it's been invaluable for them to launch their business with that resource up their sleeve, and just having so many advisors, because it's not like everyone on there is 30 years old either. Like, that's the majority. The large majority is sort of about
below
30.
45, right?
Yeah. But we do have a handful of older
We had over 65.
Yeah. And those guys, and while they're a very small subset of the group, they're often got the most to say about things. And so you are learning a lot about advice from that perspective as well, as well as younger advisors.
And it's like 2/3 advisors, which means 1,400 people. There's almost 1,000 advisors, right? Like actual advisors or like associate aspiring advisors. So that's an amazing resource. Man. I think that sort of level. And I think normally with these groups you get, and there's great, technical people and product people in the industry, but in my view, there's nothing better than learning from someone that's done it before.
Yeah.
So,
well, it'd be remiss of you not to grab a coffee or a beer and shoot the breeze, right? Pinch their ears off them.
yeah.
Yeah.
For one of a better description, right?
Well, I guess enough patting ourselves on the back around the Facebook group, guys.
I'm not sure if we're patting ourselves on the back. I think I'm patting everyone else.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Yeah, I mean, we put it out there, but it's got a life of its own, I think.
Yeah, that is the coolest part about it.
Yeah, it's just I just think that the growth is sort of reflective of the new wave of advice and how keen people are to learn and grow as advisors. You know, you see people in there, like I was saying, 300 like comments a day, or
not always, but it has reached that. It's crazy.
Yeah, I know. We're running it into the thousands, you know, on a monthly basis, and to me, that doesn't say anything about XY Advisor. That says something about the advice industry and the people that are there. You know, writing posts about online fact finds at 10 o'clock on a Sunday night. Like, there's people who are passionate about advice.
That would definitely be one of the self-employed advisors. I'd say.
Yeah.
So what are you guys working on this time of year? Do you guys do business planning? I was wondering about that.
I'm working on trying not to attend too many Christmas parties. That's
Yeah, I'm doing drink a day December.
Yeah, that's fantastic.
It's so far so good.
How you going?
Yeah.
You're looking trim, mate.
Oh, stuff it. Keep going. Keep going. Tell me more.
Does that like 500ml glass of wine you had with us last Sunday, was that one drink, just for the record?
Well, one bottle.
He buys a bottle.
One bottle equals half a drink, right?
Of course.
I've been working on swim a day. Yeah. So
yeah, nice.
yeah, summertime's here. It's sort of
Very nice.
Yeah, nice
going down the beach.
Nice one.
But so no business planning then.
Yeah, I do it out in the water.
We've actually found it as a we looking to work with a couple of accountancy practices, and I've just set up a joint venture with one in North Sydney, and he does a lot of business planning. So this is typically a downtime for him, but it's been a wonderful opportunity to spend time at his office and diving into his CRM and identifying what opportunities and going through the data and putting out a bit of a plan for next year.
It's awesome.
So we're kind of busy. Which is really lovely, actually.
Yeah, we get busy this time of year. I think it's like the new year, especially in the younger sort of demographic. It gets people thinking about their money for sure.
Yeah.
And when things are quieter as well, it's always a good opportunity to sort of get yourself set for the new year.
Time for some more technology.
Absolutely.
Well, I'm going deep into data at the moment with all this CRM stuff. It's amazing.
How come you chose not to say go Salesforce, for example?
Well, it is Salesforce.
No. So it's Practify.
Oh yeah.
So why didn't you just go Salesforce?
Well, that was the path that I was going down, but because my business is a little unique in a few ways, and there was some particular information that I wanted that I figured I would need to customize, and I started talking to this developer that I found, but. And he is awesome, and we're going to do some stuff together. But when you build a Salesforce from scratch, you have to get it up to the point where it's just a page where it's got the fields that you need, you know, the name, the income stuff, like all of those things. You have to actually build that in. And I was talking to the developer, and it was going to cost me like $7,500 or something just to get to the point where it had the stuff that I would need just for normal stuff. But what I really want to get to is document automation and, you know, full on sort of workflow management, all of that sort of stuff. And that would be like the next level. So, the Practify solution sort of allows you to customize and add on what you want, but they've already sort of built the base. So,
right. Okay.
So I think it'll end up being much cheaper. Plus you can sort of get into it faster.
Yeah, actually I'm going to make a big call for next year that the technology advice consumer is going to regain power.
Wait, what does that mean? Technology.
So for the last 10 years, the 10 years, the power has been with the technology providers. The dependency that practices have had on technology providers has been huge. They can't move because it's expensive. They don't know how to move half the time because things have been made so complex.
Right, X-Plan coin, you're stuck there.
Exactly.
Right, gotcha.
Where it's been an all-or-one solution. Next year's going to be the year where things are shifting, and the providers are going to have to start delivering exactly what us as the consumers want, because other people will be doing it, and we'll work with them if the other providers don't. And it's just going to happen. Like, the market's playing out. And it's because of the way technology has evolved. So it's going more cost effective to do all these integrations.
Zapier.
Zapier. We almost went through the podcast without mentioning Zapier. I had Julian Plummer pretty much crash tackle me at Alex Vikovic's book launch the other night. People keep on asking me about Zapier. Shut the fuck
up. What do you reckon the sexy toy of 2018 will be? You know, we talked about
Zapier.
Cryptocurrency,
that's so 2017.
Ben. You know, goals-based advice was a big thing this year, and that was kind of the I won't say flavor of the month, but you know, I've certainly got my views on that.
I reckon data
and
what you do with it is going to be the new thing. So all the players that are like the Money Sauce, Money Brilliance, My Prosperity, they've only just started they're capturing all this data, and a lot of the business models are starting to evolve into the analytics space. And for example, when Ben gets his system up and running and what I'm doing with my business, you're starting to pull in a whole lot more data sets, and they'll have some data sets, and then we've got all this other data that we actually capture from a client that no one else captures. And by linking that together, the insights and the interplay between just the standard bank data and credit card data and this stuff we know about clients, I don't know what the insights are going to be, but there's going to be stuff that we're going to be able to do and anticipate for clients that we weren't able to do before. Like one of the key things I presented to in the FBA Congress was that we're no longer going to have to go ask a client what happened over their year. We're going to be going,
yeah, wow.
Oh shit, Clayton, this has been occurring for Clayton.
He bought that diamond on the internet.
Yeah, with
that
Bitcoin.
Must mean something.
We need to
cut that.
We need to, yeah, exactly. And we need to talk to Clayton because he's obviously making some decisions and
fantastic decisions.
Oh shit! Yeah.
Oh mate, that's the best decision you could ever make.
Yeah. He's got a good better half, Clay. Yeah. So's Ben.
So data, Clay. Can you tell us much about Sprout?
Oh, I won't bring Sprout in, but as far as data's concerned, for example, client acquisition is getting very, very articulate when you start using data. So Luke Gilroy is on our XY advisor group. He ex-planner now
Salesforce.
Now in Salesforce, right? So I was having some really good chats to him about data, and he was saying that these CRMs, so I don't know if Practify can do this, but can track each person how many times they come onto the website, right? So 1, 2, 3 times might go on this page, that page, and it will complete a profile about each individual person, and then you're going to have at some point you're going to have IBM Watson providing you data around how people like to be sold to, right? So, or Adrian, for example, when he goes on to a website 3 times and receives an email and then a call, has a purchase rate of 80% or whatever. And then Adrian's on my website. He's been to the website 2 times. So now I'm going to make that offer to him, and that offer is going to be something that he likes, and then I'm going to give him a call. And that client acquisition, like that big data and that level, like I'm not sure personally if I enjoy that.
Well, what I'm talking about is going next level to that.
Next level to that?
Yeah, man.
That's some Matrix shit,
That's 2016 stuff.
HubSpot do that though, and I think Glenn and Jess, I was chatting to them about their setup of HubSpot for their business. And
what is HubSpot?
HubSpot is sort of like a CRM, I think, from my understanding. And but it does all of that tracking, so you can have custom campaigns, depending on the sites or the pages that are visited.
The next level is how that then plays out in the advice process, and like the correlation between.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, because you've got that data there, and as you connect it to everything else that goes on in the advice process, spending profiles of these people, you start to understand when people that do that, they have that problem. Or like you can see causation between things because you've got the data through that whole journey of the client, and bringing that together I think that
the CRM thing is like CRM or using data effectively. Obviously, that's some your matrix shit, but because this is like the next stage for all the people that are doing the online forms and the engagement piece at scale, but then connecting it in, and this is exactly why we're setting up a CRM in our business, because that's the next level where the information's all already like digital. It's just connecting them together. And I think that as you rightly say, Paddy, the tech providers these days, it's really, if they don't API and they don't start integrating with the things that we want, they're going to be left behind, because that's so critical now. I know that's the how you choose your business.
If we don't do that, we'll be left behind. So
well, you have to, yeah. And I think that it's, you know, I know Julian's all over this. That I've spoken to him about it a couple of times. But
Silverlight.
that the businesses, you know, midwinter do advice tools really, really well, but they admit that they're not the best CRM in the market. That there's so like a Salesforce or something else out there that it can do more of what you want. Plus the fact that everyone's business is different, and there's all these different CRMs that might be good for one business and not so good for another business. So, I think that you know, in the future, tech players will stick to their jam and do what they do well, and then just connect with everything else. And I think that the advisors that can build out their process and leverage all of those tech points are the ones that will do better.
I just want to add a bit more around that data piece, and that it's specifically the value that's going to be delivered. The advice business model is an ongoing advice business model. So the more people you can charge money to on an ongoing basis and service and give value to efficiently, the better your business model is, because it's so costly.
And effectively.
Yeah. Well, that's what we're talking about.
So what you're saying is serve more people and make more money. Is that what you're saying?
You should become an advice coach.
Oh, man.
The point I'm going to make,
your business is so successful.
Is that the data pickup, is it?
So you're saying clients go up, income goes up?
Hey. Give me a sec.
Paddy.
Stop it. What I'm saying is that the uptick isn't actually around getting onboarding people. It's not about delivering that initial advice. That's great. That's the short-term outcomes. But what the big game here is actually, how do you make clients as sticky and deliver as much value as possible?
So how?
I don't know the answers yet.
Using technology, I think you're saying.
Well, it's just the data points.
So you're saying big data, you're going to be able to tell if a client wants an SOA or a video or a PowerPoint.
Yeah, something like that. That's a good example of what things you're going to be able to do. And it's about adapting and delivering and satisfying clients on an ongoing basis, because that's the business model.
Mm-hmm.
So.
And on that eloquent note,
make more money, get more clients, make more money. Thanks.
Speaking of advice,
we haven't sworn enough yet. I'm about to say.
What I think, let's have a chat about what we think advice is. So there's values-based, goals-based, Fin life, fund your ideal lifestyle,
Sprout.
No, all that, all this sort of,
Bitcoin.
What kind of Bitcoin? what kind of advice are you guys delivering, right? That is different from the traditional advice model, and let's dive into that a little bit more, Ben.
Well, I think it has to be behavior focused and accountability and action driven, like that coaching style, pushing them to do what they need to do when they need to do it, and then keeping them accountable, because we're talking about the rise of technology, but it's coming. Like Watson's coming, robo advice is coming, all those things, and I think we were been saying the same thing 12 months ago, but more and more the technical part of advice will be automated, so that if you want to be giving value, it has to be outside of the...
What do you need the education for then?
Well, that's why I said I'm educating myself about my business instead of the technical stuff.
So let's go through that just a bit. So the client comes in, they become a client. What's your roadmap look like? So what are your deliverables?
Well, we help people set up a short-term plan and then show them the long-term outcomes that they're heading towards. So we go through an onboarding process, collecting information, a full education and strategy session, and the idea is to push them to take action. I think that's one of the big benefits of you engage with an advisor. I make sure you get the plan set up, and then the ongoing piece, obviously making sure you get the results in the plan. But then we do the education piece, which is not only about, I don't want you to just set up a plan, I want you to set up a plan and have confidence in your plan. So then I give you targeted education, which, you could get it all online, but I'm telling you the things that you actually need to know. So like, you know, it's not just saying learn all this stuff about money. It's saying these are the things that are relevant to you at this point, and you should understand them so that once we get this plan set up, you're going to have confidence in
Are you
the plan.
disseminating the information, Ben?
You could say that if you wanted to be weird.
It's a good approach, Benny.
Okay, so 12. What is a client? They walk in. 12 months later. What have they achieved?
So we do a monthly check-in with all of our clients, a monthly phone call, and it's like an accountability call. So it makes sure that they've done the things that they said they were going to do, which most of the time they have. A lot of times they haven't as well, but it's just about, you know, changing that behavior, especially over the first 12 months, answering any questions and then pushing them forward with things outside of it. You know, we might help them set up a will, like connect with a lawyer to set up their will during that time, or things with their tax, or, you know, other investments and those sorts of things. And then, yeah, when we get to the 12-month mark, we just refresh the plan and update it for the next 12 months. But I was actually looking into this just on the weekend. We're sort of tracking the savings rates of our clients versus what they were before, what they were after, and it's typically we're at like 450% of the national average, and the clients generally end up saving double, you know, within about 12 months. So,
Awesome.
Wow.
So yeah, so I think it's that really the reason for that is because that they're engaged in their plan, they're confident in what they're doing, they got peace of mind,
Accountability,
and they're taking action. Yeah, they're taking action and being accountable.
So it's almost like they're going from being stuck to being unstuck.
Almost like that.
When does your book come out, Ben? When does it come out?
Book's coming out first half of next year.
Oh yeah, I'm still doing
Very
it.
good, very good.
nice.
Yeah, mate. Yeah,
Cool.
yeah. It's
Cool.
been a beast. I'm up to like 100,000 words at the moment, so I'm sure my editor will brutalise it and cut that down a fair bit. But
You got an editor?
I got your editor.
Yeah.
Oh, you're gonna be in
she's
tears.
great.
I remember Clay's first cut. He's like, they took heaps of it out.
Yeah. But I did
fully
have a
expect
chapter. Literally,
I got
about,
cut. I was actually upset.
Yeah, your story was in the book. You got cut, but I was mostly devastated about. I think it was chapter 5.
The robot.
And it was how we were all going to just become robots.
Oh, the nanobots.
Yeah, it was just like, you know, because I was talking about the future. And then I was sort of reading these couple of books at the time. Singularity is near.
Terminator 2.
Yeah, that's my favorite movie. So we got Rise of the Robots and
Copious amounts of Reddit.
oh yeah, there's a fair bit of Reddit in there, and so basically, you know, it's all sort of headed in this one direction about nanobots and things like that, and so I kind of just went off on this mad tangent, talking about retirement 30 years from now. I'm like, and then we'll end up in robot bodies, and
I remember you telling me about that, and I'm
Matrix-esque.
like, Clayton the futurist. I'm pretty sure that shouldn't be in your book, given that you're a financial advisor.
and then the editor comes back and she's like, look, people aren't picking up a book called Fund Your Ideal Lifestyle to learn how we're all going to become robots. I'm like, fair enough, good point.
That'll be the second book.
Yeah. No, fair enough. All right. Well, I think we've got another 5 or 10 minutes. Ray J, what are you sort of supplying?
So we certainly would challenge the benefits of goals-based advice in terms of creating long-term behavior change in clients. So we look at values-based advice and have developed a process with a doctor of psychology who's quite close to the XY community, Helen Parker. And what she's helped us do is take clients through a process of understanding at a core fundamental level what's important to them and what drives them internally, and we do that before we go into a financial plan for the clients that it's obviously appropriate for.
That's the onboarding.
That's the onboarding process. Yeah, absolutely.
How do you
How does
filter?
that work?
So it's a gamified process. It's in beta, but we're hoping to roll it out, and it may even be a tool that we can open up further in the future. But at this stage, it's beta, and you know, we've got iPads in the office that people go through, and you know, it's remarkable. I was a skeptic before I saw it work. So we've got our corporate lawyer, who's a client. He came in to see us. We did a financial plan, beautifully set him up with an investment portfolio, super fund, making sure tax and all that. Happy days. 12 months later, we said, hey, mate, we're building this thing. Can you help us with the IP on it? And actually, do you want to have a go. And he went through it with his wife. They're both in their respective second marriages. Mid-40s, earning fantastic money. Eastern suburbs lifestyle, private school, the whole thing. Very very financially driven people. And he was working so hard and doing 12, 13-hour days because he wanted to create so much financial security.
Is that hard work, 12 or 13?
Mate, when you got a young family...
Oh, you're an employee, that's right.
He was doing 12 13-hour days every day.
That's hard. Oh, you got a lot to learn.
Fair enough.
Please continue.
Sorry.
And he was focusing on the commercial side of the business so that he could continue to create this lifestyle for their family. She was actually getting, like, she felt financially secure, and in fact their financial plan that if they even dropped from the status quo a little bit, that they were well and truly secure for the rest of their days, and they would tick all the boxes for the kids and those sorts of things as well. So one of the things that came out of that was she was actually really upset and disappointed that Dad is missing out on the kids growing up. So through a process, we then go through a financial plan and say, okay, well, if you maintain the status quo, this is what life looks like. If we drop things down to 70-75% of your current earning capacity, and in fact you don't need that bonus this year because of you're starting to divert your attention towards your family for a period of time, what does that do for the financial position of the family? And we show them two different scenarios, and which one are you most comfortable with, client? And where we landed, it sounds silly, but where it landed on Thursdays, I think it is, he'll leave work at 3 o'clock in the afternoon, pick the kids up from school, take them out for pizza.
How good's that?
Sounds silly, right? It's but she said that would be a really wonderful thing for the family to start to see, so that he could start improving the relationship with the kids, and that would engender real good in their lives. And our role there was to firstly facilitate what was important to them, but then secondly articulate or help them articulate the financial impact of the decisions that they made. And I just wonder, when you use that as a case study of values-based advice, what that looks like compared with a goals-based approach. And I think the goals-based sort of takes the order at the top, but it's it's what we did when he first came in. We tidied up his tax position, and he to some extent didn't quite know what to ask for. Because people are coming in for financial advice.
It's often the case.
Yeah, so it's actually developed an opportunity where I'll be spending time next year with Sydney University, and we're going to be writing a white paper articulating at a quantitative level the benefits of values-based advice versus traditional financial advice, and actually helping create some numbers around this stuff to show people how this changes people's lives. So hopefully this time next year we'll have some wonderful data, which we can put in.
Ben will have all these data fields set up by then. So.
In a white paper, which I'd be delighted to share with it.
Ben's gonna go down to the detail. It says, do they want afternoon Thursday pizza? Yes or no?
Well, to be fair, we obviously don't. We don't have a gamified thing, but a lot of what we do goes sort of into the values in a certain way. Like with a lot of the people we work with, we do scenario modeling as well. I don't say that this is based on your values, but it's like, clients with having kids, and do you go back to work 3 or 4 days a week instead of full time, or helping clients at the moment that they want to move down to the Yarra Valley and buy a place and that sort of stuff, and it's like it ties in with the value. So I think that is really important.
Yeah, absolutely.
Keen to see the white labeled version of that.
And Paddy, do you want to wrap it up for us? Let us know, and then we'll call it.
I'll be brief. Maybe.
You just sign them up to Zapier, right?
Yeah, and Zapier just does everything for me. I actually don't have to deliver any advice now. I've automated advice. That's, they don't even talk to me.
You stand there waving.
I've got a bot that they actually talk to.
Right. Hello, welcome to AP Financial Solutions.
Does a better job than me. One key thing that I'm working on is how to, like you mentioned it before, around the wills and like the estate planning, and often the challenges for clients is like when you look at the whole financial spectrum, there's a whole lot of stuff that comes into play, whether it's in professional services, you might say. And I think I just see the relations that we form with clients is a lot deeper than a lot of other services. A lot of other services are quite transactional. And clients spend a lot of time trying to choose what the best other service is. And it, like, depending on the client, it can be quite, like, if they're more analytical, they'll spend heaps of time on it. If they're not as
like
analytical,
Clay, if they're like Clay, they might spend
they'll
less
probably
time on
just,
it.
yeah, exactly, perfect juxtaposition there, and might just go for a really expensive one unnecessarily.
Yeah.
Well, I can see our role. I'm working on how to actually standardize that, so clients can actually, instead of not having it necessarily an answer directly for all these other options, whether it's asset finance, whether it's general insurance, is to have that in place. Whether it's the accounting, the estate planning, have it really tight and packaged, and deliver all this frictionless philosophy that I'm applying to the advice process to that experience as well. So, and still letting clients. So instead of just someone going directly to a product provider, it's actually they're getting an intermediary still at the same time. So
when you've made your advice process fully digital and then created the most detailed fact find to help people choose other service professionals, what sort of ultra detailed activity do you think that you'll find to spend your time on? Can I just ask?
That's exactly what I was thinking. Not only
he's already got the most epic insurance needs analysis in the financial planning industry, and has automated his advice business almost. Now he's got to create
every other profession as well. I could just literally imagine, you're going to ask people, do you want a burger to arrive at your work at 12:35 every day? And do you want tomato and pickles?
If they value burgers, it's
and how toasted do you like your bun?
Yeah,
Light,
exactly.
medium, dark.
All right, well, 2017 XY Advisor wrapping up for the year. Let's see what next year holds.
Yep. See you all on Friday, Sydney peeps, the Christmas party.
Yep.
Yeah, it's exciting.
Yeah,
Cool.
all good
times.
things. Thanks, guys.
All right, cheers.
Merry Christmas, everyone.